So long,
Farewell.
auf Wiedersehen.
Goodbye. Wow, Ben. 20 is a pretty big number to hit.
Yeah, I can't believe 20 years have gone by already.
20 years of well-attended potlucks.
20 years of songs and sermons.
20 years of kids, congregants, and schmoozing with the elderly.
20 years of hair loss. I feel you on that one, Kurt.
Tonight is about you, Coach.
Pastor.
Friend and mentor.
It should be a good one. 20 years, I'll review.
No critiques, though.
Yeah, not a roast.
A celebration.
I'll look through those rose-colored glasses.
A party.
Yeah. Maybe without the dancing, though. I ate too much.
No one wants to see that anyway, Ben.
Ouch.
20 years about you. Tonight.
In just a few moments.
It's a big round number. A celebration. Welcome. Now I'd like to introduce Brenda and
Joel
and
Justin
and Lori.
Yes.
Well, it all began here in North Manchester for Kurt and his family in the summer of 2003. At that time, we may have been sporting our airbrushed shirts or our cargo pants, or maybe watching 2003's top Disney movie, Finding Nemo, with Conrad, or actually looking for Nemo with Conrad.
Then in 2004, as the Boston Red Sox were winning the World Series for the first time since 1918, there was a Rainer playing summer baseball for Walnut Street Clinic and enjoying time on the farm. Kurt was also busy preparing for the opening sermon at the National Older Adult Conference in September. And how many of us remember the Church of the Brethren Christmas Eve service that was televised on CBS in 2004?
In 2005, a new baby was born. I remember the call. This time not in May to go along with the rest of her family. She wanted her own special month of November. That summer, Kurt went on his first trip to El Salvador.
2006 brought a historical dedication ceremony in North Manchester with a presentation by Kirk Borgmann. Must have been Kurt's unknown twin brother. This is on the official Indiana Historical Bureau website, so it must be official. Or perhaps Kurt was dreaming of playing, coaching, or attending the World Cup that was being played in Germany. Or maybe he was just happy with his own North Manchester youth soccer crew. Anyway, Kurt was also busy in the summer traveling with 18 youth that went to National Youth Conference in Colorado, and an immersion trip with the Vital Pastors Group to Scotland. And Kurt and Lois were leading the music for the Vacation Bible School in June. Kurt and Lois were also providing Sunday morning children's stories. And look who is 1 year old now.
In 2007, Kurt and Rainer traveled to a work camp in El Salvador. Did Kurt really have the first iPhone that was released that year for these pictures? Or was he traveling with his flip phone? Or maybe the BlackBerry on his belt?
2008 was a Marketplace 29 AD Bible school year. Conrad was often found at the bread making area, rolling out the dough and making bread over the fire. 2008 was also filled with grief for the Borgmann family, with the death of Kurt's mother following a tragic car accident that involved his mother and dad in March.
What was happening in 2009? Barack Obama became the 44th President of the United States with the help of Rainer and Connor and their dads attending a rally. Soon after, in March, Kurt's dad died in his sleep, and grief returned to the Borgmann family in the loss of their dad and grandpa. The Christmas Eve Perfume Fund generated $15,538.75 to help support the Manchester Food Pantry. And how about all those delicious cookies that Lois made for Christmas Eve, plus all the other foods that she prepared for our community and special events?
What was happening in the tech world in 2010? Instagram launched, and there was the creation of selfies. Now, some of you that year may have been wondering how to take these selfie pictures. Not Kurt. No, he had already figured out a way to be included in every picture with the youth group back in 2004. And there were more good times, like those parties with the chocolate fountains and some fun hiding around the church.
There may have been a missed opportunity with the Borgmann family on the last Oprah Winfrey show that happened in 2011. Why did the Borgmann family decline a possible offer to be part of the Oprah Winfrey show? Well, here we see that Kurt and Conrad, they were busy hanging out at the ranch instead during his sabbatical, and Kurt and Rainer were enjoying a sailing adventure on the Chesapeake, or maybe they were just stuck right here in North Manchester with the January snowstorm that closed school for at least 9 days in a row. Or maybe they were attending the opening of the Peabody Aquatic Center, or how about this one? Journeying on the Mayflower.
In 2012, as Manchester College became Manchester University, it was summer traveling time for Kurt and Rainer with a trip to El Salvador with the youth group. In fact, it looks like someone might have even become an expert with toilet replacement. And maybe Lena also was doing some exercises to get ready for her toilet working. Conrad, on the other hand, was looking towards a career in finance and business at a young age and was busy handling the money. And Lois, she was busy hosting Sunday evening college meals, coaching basketball teams, and trying to schedule the tallest soccer officials for the Manchester Soccer Club.
In 2013, it began with a second term for Barack Obama. Rainer headed to CCS in New York City and Washington, D.C. with the high school youth group. And do you remember the special envelope Sundays that year? Maybe you decided to get one during worship service on Pentecost Sunday. Much to our surprise, there was a $100 bill inside. What did you do with that money? Another envelope Sunday brought people together for a meal, one to host and one to bring a gift. In September, Kurt was busy preaching at the National Older Adult Conference. Kurt also worked at the Clergy Farm program at the Hawkins Farm throughout the year. Additionally, he was the best find in Lois's youth scavenger hunt. Meanwhile, Lois mentored Kelsey among many other youth in our church.
It was time for action in the Rocky Mountains in the year 2014 with a trip to Colorado for National Youth Conference. What a great way to grow in faith and enjoy the beautiful outdoor experiences. Hang on, Rainer. Also in 2014, a large crowd filled the sanctuary for the Goodbye Still Night concert.
Moving on to 2015, this was a top show year for the Borgmann family as 3 of them starred in the musical Joseph, shown exclusively right here in North Manchester, Indiana. If you missed their all-star performance in Joseph, maybe you shared the night with them as the choir from Nigeria came to that same stage that year. Kurt's book, The Heart of Grief, was published in August of 2015. And how many sermons from Kurt Borgmann had we heard by May of 2015? Any guesses? Believe it or not, we had already heard 500 sermons. Fortunately for all of us here in Manchester, we continue to have an additional 5 years of phenomenal messages after these 500. Preach it, Kurt.
In 2016, some may have been learning to play Pokemon Go. Others decided to head south to Greensboro, North Carolina to listen to Kurt's sermon, Light Up the Darkness, as the annual conference speaker. Kurt was also on the standing committee for the denomination steering committee of Supportive Communities Network. Rainer and Conrad were part of the siblings choir on Christmas Eve. Then a special baptism also took place on Christmas Day. 2016 also gave us this picture of whatever Conrad might be doing here.
In 2017 brought the first solar eclipse in 99 years, but those solar eclipse glasses might not have been strong enough to protect your eyes from the bright ideas brewing in the youth group that year. The MELC building was completed and dedicated in June of 2017. Our youth group won the Spirit of the Community Award from the Chamber of Commerce that winter. Kurt also started his own podcast that same year. Travel took Kurt and Rainer to Israel and Palestine, along with some others from our congregation. There were some interesting trees continuing to grow tall in North Manchester.
Well, here we are in 2018. And how do you find your youth group in a large crowd at March for Our Lives in Washington, D.C.? Well, just look for the tallest person in the crowd. There's Conrad. At Manchester High School, our youth group helped to lead a student walkout as part of the National Student Walkout to protest gun violence in our schools. Kurt and Jim Chenworth were there to provide support. In July, Conrad was off with the youth group to National Youth Conference in Colorado in the summer, and Lois joined in on the experience. In August and September, Kurt could be found most late afternoons and evenings on the soccer fields, coaching the high school team to an undefeated season during Conrad's senior year. Later, an 8-person delegation from El Salvador visited for a week in November.
The Manchester High School soccer team won its first sectional championship in October of 2019. With Dave McKee and Kurt coaching the team to victory. And speaking of winning, how about the youth versus staff basketball game earlier that year? Seems like the staff may have been really hot on the court that night. In November, many of us helped to assemble cleanup buckets for disaster relief. And check out this family photo. Do we recognize everyone in the photo this year?
The high school youth group kicked off the beginning of 2020 with the Joseph musical. Where were the Borgmanns this time? Wait a minute, they didn't get cast in this production? Did they miss the tryouts? Were they all too old or young, or did they get replaced by a large stuffed tiger? In March, worship in the sanctuary came to an abrupt change, along with many other things with the COVID pandemic. Kurt preached his next 65 sermons, making eye contact with the video camera while preaching to an empty sanctuary. Annual conference was even canceled in the summer for the first time. Now, most people were focused on the pandemic, but not the Borgmann family, who were making way for their new ducklings, Don and Squeaks. On a more serious note, Kurt, Lois, and Lena were part of the Silent No More March in North Manchester in the summer, along with many from our congregation.
In 2021, Sunday worship services continued to be virtual until we shifted to an outdoor service for Easter in April. We finally returned to the sanctuary in July of 2021. A very special baptism took place at Camp Mac in August. Conrad was in charge of the sound that morning. Kurt made his first visit with Raymond Johnson in Oklahoma, and the Christmas Eve service returned to the sanctuary with our traditional candle lighting at the end of the night.
Joy to the world. In 2022, Kurt began a sabbatical time of Who is My Neighbor? Before leaving on his sabbatical, Kurt and the tie-dye staff team took on the Pink Flamingo youth team, this time in volleyball. The Pink Flamingos seemed to have found the magic that night on the volleyball court. During the sabbatical, Conrad and Kurt traveled to New Orleans to the lower Ninth Ward to spend time with David Young and his Capstone Ministries. Lena and Kurt journeyed to Ecuador with the New Community Project. And another trip for Kurt included traveling along with Karen Eberly to see Raymond Johnson in Oklahoma, and then on to Houston to visit Raymond's children and their mother. The congregation gathered for 3 Sing Me Home Festival events. In May, for the first in-person event, and another in October in the new outdoor grounds, and finally in December.
Well, here we are. It's 2023. And at the beginning of 2023, luncheons with the pastors began again at Timbercrest. Then, as Kurt was watching Lena's flying shot put and discus as she perfected her throwing skills for track season, he was also making the decision that it was time for a change, not to Lena's throwing style, but in his own career. Kurt decided to resign from the pastor position here at the Manchester Church of the Brethren, and to resign as a soccer coach at Manchester High School. In June, Kurt and Lena, one more trip through the Manchester Church of the Brethren, went on a civil rights trip along with part of the youth group. So, what's next for Kurt and the rest of the family? That will be in the next 20 years chapter, to be released in July of 2046. So, order your copy today, or ask Chat GPT to write your own version.
Another chance to sing some 4-part harmony. Could you all turn to number 89 for The Beauty of the Earth? We think it's one of Kurt's favorites, maybe. And stand up, and we'll do a couple verses with the piano and 3 verses a cappella. Number 89.
Oh,
Speaking of Kurt's favorite things, we are now going to step into the streets to inquire with the congregation. What do you think are some of Kurt's favorite things? Anyone have a guess? Anyone at all? Kurt's favorite things, back in the back. Let me run back there. Some of Kurt's favorite things. Any guesses?
McNanny shoes.
All right. We'll see if you're correct. Any other guesses? Oh, over here. I'm going to go through the pews. Oh, I chose the wrong way. Some of Kurt's favorite things. Any ideas?
Ducks.
Ducks. A very good idea. Any others? I'm seeing over here. I'd like to run. Let's go.
Eloise Eberly peanut butter pie.
Mine too. And let's do one more. I'm seeing, let's go right over here in the purple shirt. What do you think?
Favorite color is blue.
His favorite color is blue. Well, let's see how accurate some of you are. This next number has all of the answers to your burning questions. And now, a collection of some of Kurt's favorite things, or no, all of Kurt's favorite things, stuffed neatly into one song.
Strawberry ice cream and Italian loafers. Canoes are his choice when he's out among boaters. On land he likes reading a good mystery. These are a few of Kurt's favorite things.
Gospel of John and the Eagles from Philly. Apple, peach, key lime, almost any pie really. When it comes to seasons, it's fall over spring. These are a few of Kurt's favorite things.
Homemade ice cream for our hands sing every midweek day.
These are a few of Kurt's favorite things, except the midweek update. News over Beethoven, sung by Ed Moe. Time at the lake, watching family grow. Coaching the high school boys soccer team. These are a few of Kurt's favorite things. Barbecue meat, a joy to reach, receiving an amen. These are a few of Kurt's favorite things, which brings us down to the end.
This is Jeopardy! Manchester COB edition. Introducing today's contestants, a candy enthusiast from South Whitley, Indiana, and a member of the Manchester Church of the Brethren, Jill Henderson. He is a public school teacher of mathematics and also a member of the Manchester Church of the Brethren, Frankie Eberly. And finally, someone we found off Ancestry.com who we think is perhaps a distant relative of the Borgmann family, Bert Borgmann. And now, here is the host of Jeopardy, Alex Trebek.
Welcome to Jeopardy! We are here in North Manchester, Indiana, for this exciting edition of the show, and I am Alex, your host for this evening. Now let's get to know a bit about our contestants. First up is Jill. What will you do if you win today?
Buy candy, and lots of it, Alex. Chocolate, licorice, Skittles, Whoppers, peanut clusters. I'm a fan of it all.
Fascinating. I hope you have a good dentist. Next up is Frankie. Tell us about yourself.
Well, I think I'm going to do quite well today because I come from a strong brethren line. We Everlys have good anti-Baptist stock in our blood.
Neat. Finally, we have Bert. And I see you only have one N on the end of your name.
That's right, Alex. We Borgmans are a no-nonsense group, and I figured out one day it would be more efficient for writing and typing purposes if I just removed one of them. Never looked back.
Sensational. That's enough small talk for me. Now let's look at the categories on the board. Wait for it. Sermon illustrations. Here it comes. Some like it hot. This one's one of my favorites. Fashion. Next up. Hair. Get ready, folks. Potpourri. And finally, 4-letter words. Now, contestants, these are words that have 4 letters. Jill, you have been selected to go first. The board is yours.
All right. I'll start with Some Like It Hot for 200, Alex.
Great choice. The clue is worship center wrapped around candles caught on fire.
Now, if I know my distant relative Kurt, and I hardly do, but I suspect with him being a preacher and all, this was part of a Pentecostal-style service here, so I'm going to say, what is live snakes?
No, that is incorrect.
What is burlap?
Correct. $200 for Mr. Eberly, and your turn to pick.
I will take Some Like It Hot for 400.
The clue is lights, sanctuary, smoke.
Ding! What is bugs cooking on the chandeliers?
That is correct. $400 for Jill.
I'll take Some Like It Hot for 600.
The clue on the board is water, lobster, baptism. Bert.
I'm sure this is one of the first things Kurt did when he came here and put in the staff lounge for Swimsuit Fridays in the office. What is hot tub?
I'm sorry, Bert. That is incorrect and perhaps inappropriate for the workplace.
Who is Will Patch?
Correct. $600 for Frankie. That was the first and only hot baptism in Kurt's 20 years. It was also a nice nod in its extremism to the early brethren who got baptized on Christmas Day in freezing water.
You know, Alex, I'm going to change it up. I will take sermon illustrations for 200.
Which of Kurt's children did he use most in his sermons? Bert.
I know this. Kurt told me this once. And by told me, I mean one night in a dream I had. It was his favorite child. He said he used the most. Was her name Candy?
We can't accept that answer, Bert.
Who is Candy?
Oh, Candy, I'm getting hungry.
That is incorrect on a number of levels, Bert.
Who is Don the Duck?
Correct. $200 for Frankie. Some pets are like children, and Don just edged out the other 3.
I'll take sermon illustrations for 600.
Here is the clue. BBT.
What is Brethren Benefit Trust?
I'm sorry, that is incorrect.
Actually, that is correct, Alex. BBT stands for Brethren Benefit Trust.
That does not make it the right answer, and while we are on the matter, they have changed their names to Aider Financial.
Ding! Who is Barbara Brown Taylor?
Correct. $600 for Jill. This was a favorite person of Kurt's to quote. Jill, the board is back to you.
Excellent. I will take fashion for 200.
This is Kurt's favorite shoe.
Ding! What are Italian loafers?
Correct.
Fashion for 400.
Let's see the clue on the board. 2 words that best describe Kurt's wardrobe.
Well, I see him on the TV all the time now in costume on that fancy live stream. What is unbuttoned and untucked?
Bert, I sound like a broken record now, but that is incorrect.
What is Eddie Bauer?
Correct, Frankie. You're back with 400. Your turn to choose.
I'll take hair for 200.
Hair for 200. The color of Kurt's hair when he started in 2003.
What is strawberry blonde?
Strawberry blonde? No.
Ding! What is brown?
Jill, that is correct.
I'll take hair for 400.
I'm sorry, hair is gone.
Okay. I'll take potpourri for 200.
Kurt's favorite gospel in the Bible.
What is soccer?
Incorrect.
I mean, what is football?
Still incorrect, and Bert, let me remind you that you cannot buzz in twice for the same question.
What is John?
That is correct.
I'll take 4-letter words for 400.
4-letter words. Let's see. He has been a preacher and teacher here for 20 years.
Who is Jesus?
No, and the category is 4-letter words, so it must only have 4 letters.
Well, I was just thinking that Jesus usually is the correct answer. And I also feel like maybe he hasn't been mentioned enough during this game. Could I get an amen? See? It's not so hard for some Borgmans to get an amen around here.
Ding! Who is Kurt?
Thank you. Correct.
4-letter words for 600.
Kind, understanding, revered, trustworthy.
Who is Bert?
No.
Well, Bert is a 4-letter word, and I am all those things.
Who is Kurt?
Are all of these answers Kurt?
Why, yes. And I am told that we have run out of time due to all of Bert's long-winded answers. That concludes our game. Jill in second with $2,000, Bert in third with $0, and our winner is Frankie with $2,000, 400. Thank you all for joining us on this exciting journey of knowledge. Congratulations, Frankie. I'm Alex Trebek. This is Jeopardy, and until next time, stay curious and keep exploring. Thank you.
You're ruining my joke tonight. There have been more amens tonight than ever. I was going to start this little shtick by saying, it's just our German pietist way that we can't bring up an amen during worship. And we silence our phones during worship. As far as I can tell, nobody's on their phone during worship. But tonight, I want you to get out your phones and turn them on. We're going to do an activity together and create a word cloud, 2 word clouds, really. Have you ever done this? We're going to go to a survey site. You're going to type in words that describe Kurt, and as you submit them, they will fly up to the screens in a cloud, in a little group of words. And if several of you put up the same word, it'll get bigger on the screen. So you'll see it as we progress here. So, Randy, can you? Oh, there we are. Oh my gosh, it's so tiny. If you go to the website on your phone browser, go to the website mentimeter.com. That's MENTIMETER, mentimeter.com. Anybody having trouble? And if you don't have a phone with you, we will have people stationed in the aisles who can record the words for you as you think of them. So feel free to talk amongst yourselves and make a little noise. Did you find Mentimeter on your phones? Okay, would you raise your hand if you've got the site up? Okay. It should, at the very top of it, have a place to put in a code. Do you see that? Here's the code. 4927 2863. I'll repeat that. 4927 2863. Did you find it? And so some of you are in. Then Randy, you'll need to go to the next screen. Do you see this question? And you see enter a word, enter another word, enter another word. So start, you can put in as many words as you want. You can, when you get to 10, you'll hit submit and the words will start flying up here. If you want help, we will be around to help people. Seth, am I right that there have been people identified who can? Oh, great. Be sure and ask the people next to you or around you who don't have a phone if they'd like to give you their words to type in. Kurt and Lois, we'll capture these as a file and have them printed and framed for you. Yeah. You're still submitting? When you're ready to go to the next question. Okay, if you could pull that to an end and submit your last words, that would be great. We're going to have to get a billboard. Okay. Randy, I think we can go to the next slide. Okay. I thought if we could name some of the projects and initiatives and things that we've done in the last 20 years that will form the companion cloud to this one. Things like the Perfume Fund, the Death Row Penalty Project, or Raymond Johnson. Any of those things you think of that Kurt's been involved in, or we have done as a congregation together. You running out of words? I don't think so. Are you ready to submit your last words? This is a great way to kind of encapsulate all the work that we have done together as a team. Really appreciate your responses. Okay. Has everyone hit submit? Is there anyone who needs more time? Put your hand up. Oh. The youth corner is still writing. Okay, I think they can still work. We can leave this up as we go, and we can go on to the next thing. Thank you so much for participating.
Well, it's been a quiet week in North Manchester, many people's hometown. Even though people around the country are having terrible experiences with the weather, the climate in this little town by the Eel River seems to be pretty acceptable. That doesn't mean everyone is particularly happy, despite there being so many people above average and all. There are some drawbacks. Folks in town are dealing with the departure of one of their main citizens, a tall, mostly reserved man of the cloth at that Brethren church out along Highway 13. The one where the town is constantly wondering what's going on with their front lawn. Some call it prairie grass, others call it a festival of weeds. The scuttlebutt in the community is that the town actually sent them a citation for having their grass over the usual and customary length, the way most people do it around here. But then many of the people who go to that church have always been a little unconventional, and folks around town say it starts at the top. No, not with Jesus, we all know his track record, but with their pastor, Kurt Borgmann, who, by the way, rumor has it, is packing up and leaving town, taking his whole family with him. Folks with good memories say he's been here for about 20 years, although folks with good memories also remind us that he almost turned around and left the first day he arrived. Seems an elder from the church, a Jim Garber, took him around town the first day, and Kurt noticed a lot of junk in the lawn of the first place he visited. He didn't think much about it at the time, thought maybe they had a fire or a flood or something that involved cleaning out things from their house. But then he discovered another house with furniture, discarded bookshelves, torn sofas, all out on their front yard. And then another, and then another. What kind of people live here, he was thinking. He started wondering whether people in this community were a little lacking in their front yard etiquette, had serious problems with storage or what to do with their stuff. But just as he was deciding this may not be a place he wanted to set roots down, someone explained that it was actually spring cleanup season, the time when you put your unwanted possessions out on the front yard and people come by and pick up what they want before the township trucks come along and take everything away that no one else wants. Kurt was very reassured that his first impression wasn't what it appeared to be. So Kurt settled into being pastor at this church, one that has some strange customs. Seems that if you want to be good, you have to be thrown into a pool of water, sometimes during the Sunday morning service. Kind of odd, but they all kind of accepted it. Except that on one of those days, they were also boiling water to make potatoes or something for a cookout that day. And Pastor Kurt apparently was in charge of getting the water to each of those two big water tanks. One for the dunking of the man who was enamored by this notion of living a pious life, and the one to cook the potatoes. And somehow, no one is sure how, somehow the hot water got put into the tank for the man who wanted to turn his life around. Quite a shock when he stepped into that pool of water. He remarked later that he was beginning to have second thoughts about this idea of piety. Fortunately, someone remembered that there was an ice machine in the kitchen, and they quickly grabbed some ice to put into the hot water tank. And some other people rushed outside and grabbed some snow and threw it into the pool of hot water, all of which probably saved that man's life. Certainly it improved his attitude toward continuing on the straight and narrow way of life from then on. But that wasn't the only unusual thing that happened during the good parson's time at that church. Seems like in the early days of his preaching, people had a tendency to keel over during the Sunday morning service. For a while there, they were dropping like flies. In the middle of singing old favorites like Move in Our Midst, bang, down someone would go onto the floor. Clearly not moving in the direction Kurt was talking about. Or he'd be telling the flock about how to be a good Christian, and pow, another parishioner would keel over in mid-sentence. One time there were 3 down for the count in one the same Sunday. After a while, you could see that look in Kurt's eye as he was preaching the word, scanning the crowd for signs of fatigue or drowsiness, anything that might indicate some kind of emergency medical situation was pending. Fortunately, there were about a dozen doctors and nurses among his congregation, and they would fight to see who could get to the fallen parishioner first and administer the proper medical care. There was talk about keeping an ambulance in the parking lot on a Sunday morning, or at least having the local EMT folks on speed dial. No one would really talk out loud about wondering whether there might have been a link between people falling over during the service and the pastor who was convening the service at the time. But it was kind of mysterious. People talk, you know that. Now, no one is really believing that that's the reason Kurt is leaving town and leaving the congregation, but it's going to be a shock to not have his creative approach to life shared each Sunday, or his stories about what it's like to help coach the local boys' soccer team, who sometimes took his advice and sometimes didn't, but who always appreciated his perspective and long history with the game of soccer. And they'll miss stories about the ducks at his house that his family adopted. And seems like there were always fine comparisons between how the ducks were acting and Kurt's advice for how to be a good Christian. Just one of the many ways his creative approach to sharing the faith made him a well-loved member of the community and his church. Folks, you're going to miss that. Well, that's some of the news echoing through the village of North Manchester, where the people are strong and the children, all the children, are above average.
At this time, we would like to invite up our man of the hour to say a few words. Kurt.
When they were planning this, they didn't tell me anything that was going on, except I did say that I wanted a chance to say something near the end of the time. And mostly what I want to say is thank you. And of course, I love you, and I'll miss you, and all will be well with me and with you. And I'm grateful for 20 years and for deep relationships and for so many things that we've shared together. And I wish you well, and I keep you in my prayers.
You know, there's really only one way that we can end the evening, a song that's a favorite in our congregation. David, it's not this one. Yeah. There we go, that's the one I'm talking about.